Ms. Carter, Jean-Baptiste, Mr. Champagne, and Ms. Monteith are excluded.
Item 1, consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing Parish President Chester Cedars to enter into a land services agreement on behalf of St. Martin Parish government with Angel and Donahue for the Cypress Bayou Cooley LaSalle Drainage Improvements Project.
Yeah, real briefly, this is a recommendation of Sellers and Associates, the engineers for the Cooley LaSalle project. They do this by having a third-party contractor get the right-of-ways when needed. I don't think they're going to need as many as they're estimating. It would expedite the project, the completion of the project. The most important thing from our perspective, it doesn't change our commitment and our contributions to the project. As you will recall, we committed $3 million, and so that won't change, and the balance is being funded through hazardous mitigation grant program money, so OCD actually, the Office of Community Development. So it seemed like a valid agreement, and I think it will expedite it when and if we need certainty. I'm not at all convinced that we will. Most of them we will need as many as they anticipate, because this is a 38-113 allowed in most areas. Probably more like access rights to get to our hub with certainty.
Mitigation, mitigating areas in that project?
I'm not anticipating any significant mitigation. They did budget some mitigation, but not significant. I am correct in that, Mr. President.
Item 2, update on water consolidation.
Mrs. Stevens?
Yeah, I wanted just to give you a quick update on the steps that's been taken so far on the consolidation. Let me also give you a caveat. At the end, we will talk about the governance. This is a work in progress. There's nothing smiling. Just wanted to update you though as to where we've been with the consolidation and where we're going. Only a few weeks ago did we get a firmer commitment, if you will, from one of the components of the consolidation.
They did.
I think there we go. All right. Yeah, just for everyone's edification, this consolidation is not something that just started. We actually started thinking, the administration started thinking about consolidation back in 2019. And the idea was engendered by a meeting with Dr. Carrie Castile, who was with the United States Department of Agriculture at the time. She was very helpful in working with us in the parish relative to our industrial water plant and to Waterworks District Number 4, the Catahoula District. And keep in mind that our industrial water plant provides the water to Waterworks District Number 4, Catahoula. Indeed, in 2002, the water plant in Catahoula was abandoned through agreement with the parish. The idea being the parish would provide the source water for that system. And of course, there were some USD loans and grants that were secured to make all that happen. Anyway, we also talked about funding for upgrades to the plant and infrastructure for both the industrial plant and Waterworks District 4. It's kind of hard to segregate them because for all practical purposes other than the mill, the industrial plant's only customer would be Waterworks District 4. We also met with representatives from the Louisiana Department of Health relative to issues that the USDA had posed in terms of potential grants, revolving loans that LDH had that we would not qualify with USDA. And one of the reasons that there was an issue with getting additional loans is that the Waterworks District 4 already has a loan, an outstanding loan with USDA, and neither LDH or USDA will give you a loan to pay off a loan or to refinance. So that was kind of one of the problems we had. As far as getting grants, we had a difficult time getting grants for Waterworks District 4 and of course the industrial plant, because the mean income, the average income for that area did not fit the criteria for loans or grants, for low interest loans that's forgivable or grants. I forget what the numbers were, but simply it didn't qualify because it fell below the poverty level. So I said, okay, if we're going to consolidate, who else could join the consolidation? At that point in time, I was very interested in of course, Waterworks District 4, but that didn't help the industrial plant, and remember, we needed infrastructure for both systems, for the industrial system and for Waterworks District 4. And I said, we needed infrastructure, we needed upgrades. And so I said, maybe there's other water systems that are in the area that we could make a consolidation work. And I started looking at the various water districts in the parish and started looking at what the median income would be in those areas those districts serve, because if we consolidated and took a more wealthy zone, quote unquote, and mixed it with a less wealthy zone, maybe it would fall below that poverty level, the average median income for the consolidated district, which would then qualify us for additional grants through USDA or LDH or forgivable loans. So, had one meeting with the municipality or a municipal water district, and that was kind of, that idea was rebuffed. This was bringing us into 20. In February, I spoke with Senator Fred Mills, who was the chairperson of the committee for the health in the Senate. And I said, Senator Mills, I need whatever contacts you can put me together with, because I got this idea about consolidating water systems. And he set me up with Dr. Jimmy Guidry. And that was a good match, because what I forgot to mention, Dr. Castile, Carrie Castile, with USDA, is a Breaux Bridge native, okay, and lived in the Lafayette area. Dr. Jimmy Guidry also is from Breaux Bridge, although at that time he was secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health. So there was kind of a bridge there, and that was good because they understood our problems firsthand. Anyway, I spoke with Dr. Guidry. He said, man, I think you're on track. The Louisiana Department of Health is very supportive of consolidation. We think that's the route to go. We want to help you any way we can. So Dr. Guidry said, I'm going to bring my team and we're going to come meet with you. And we set up an appointment in late February for an appointment on March 5th, 2020, with Dr. Guidry himself coming. So I'm getting kind of excited there. But something happened right about this time. You might remember something called the COVID-19 pandemic, the first stay-at-home order issued by the governor, emanated on March 20th. Bottom line is this, and at this point in time, LDH kind of focused in another area, so to speak. You know what that area was. So things kind of lingered without much progress until November. I set up a virtual conference, because that's what we started doing at this point, with LDH officials like Amanda Ames, who was chief engineer for the Louisiana Department of Health, Senator Mills. The mayor pro tempore of the city of St. Martinville was also present at that time. There's a different administration now, but he had approached me interested in having the city of St. Martinville be a component of the consolidation. And that was a good thing because the mean income would kind of hit my thought process with that entity, with their customer base included. So we discussed a lot of issues on this conference. You know, the needs of the infrastructure of the different players, the different components, needs for new water meters, updated water meters, rate structures needed to be exempt, still needs to be exempt. We'll get to that in a minute. And just the aging plant, because at this point in time, I should have put it in this, we had two aging plants. If the city of St. Martinville was going to be a partner, they had an aging plant, and we had an aging plant. So, two old geezers trying kind of get together to get some upgrades, to find the fountain of youth, so to speak. But we had a real good conference at this point in time, and the train got back on the track, so to speak. Because everyone agrees that consolidation was the route to take. Economies of scale, right with the consolidation. The inclusion of low-income areas that would decrease the mean income for grant purposes. And of course, in that, the consolidated district could absorb that. The LDH officials, again, recommended, look, we have a great long revolving program. The next application date at this point was October of 2021. Then there was potential funding sources that were disclosed to us through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and we still had some discounted potential assistance from the USDA. It was felt by everyone that we conferred with that once we got a consolidation concept together, and once that became galvanized, that there would be a lot of different sources of funding to upgrade the facilities to provide a sustainable water system. Various recommended steps were given to us by both LDH and subsequently by USDA. Immediately commission a rate study of all the areas that would be served and try to find as many systems as we possibly could that would be a good partner for the consolidation. Set up more meetings with USDA. We had a meeting here in December of 2020 that included Dr. Carrie Castile again, who at this time we learned was going to be moving up because a new presidential administration was taking office. She got a nice promotion, so we were losing her, but Mr. Roy Holman was taking her place. These other individuals from USDA was at this meeting together with Sellers and Associates, who had done a lot of work in the water systems. I had invited them, and at this point, I can remember my asking a question to Mr. Holman and Dr. Castile, which was very simple. Hey, if you're sitting where I'm sitting, what would you do? And they said, get your engineers involved to evaluate the systems, because you really don't know what it's going to take to upgrade all these facilities to make a consolidation work till you have an evaluation. So shortly afterwards, you agreed to retain the services of Sellers and Associates, and then the interest of St. Martinville really started to reach a peak, which was good because that's a very viable partner in the consolidation because of their size, because of where they're located, the plant-wise. Our plants are close together, so it was a perfect fit, so to speak. Again, in February, you approved the retention of Sellers and Associates, and in February 5th, I appeared before the St. Martinville City Council and explained to them what I needed. And what we needed from them at this time was a commitment to study the concept of consolidation, because we still needed that report. We still needed an evaluation of the systems. But I couldn't evaluate their systems, or Sellers and Associates couldn't, until we had their permission. Yeah, go ahead, we're going to work with you. They passed a resolution that evening saying, we're on board with studying this concept of consolidation. Then we had another meeting with the LDH and Sellers and Associates, went back over everything that we previously discussed, and then I said, okay, I need help from a legal perspective, and I asked LDH the same question I had asked the USDA, except it was a little bit more specific this time when I said, okay, I need a lawyer who's good at handling these consolidations, because you've got all kinds of problems. Tax problems, there's a special set of statutes that deal with consolidations, with outstanding loans, you have different type of employees with different retirement systems, very complex. And they wouldn't give me an attorney officially, but I mentioned some, and they said, oh yeah, we've worked with them a lot, and that was Foley and Judale, specifically Jason Akers, who we enjoy a great relationship with. They are bonding attorneys, and they've helped us in other similar matters. So, March 9th of 2021, one of the first things that Ms. Akers told us we needed, when we had our first meeting with him, we needed an ordinance and resolutions from all the parties. This time, not saying I agree with the concept, but committing to a consolidation plan. You passed an ordinance, this council did, and then the parish, of course, that ordinance provides now that the parish government is the one that appoints the governing board, and we needed to specifically define the boundaries of the consolidated district. We needed to continue the evaluation of all the systems involved, and we needed a rate study for the city of St. Martinville, which had not yet been conducted. Then we met with, shortly afterwards, the Louisiana Rural Water Association, LWRA, and explained to them what we were doing and the need for a rate study, which they do at no charge. They said, not a problem, and then they gave us some general recommendations regarding funding. Very cooperative. All of these agencies extremely, extraordinarily cooperative with our efforts. In July of 2021, the preliminary engineering report was completed. This is this preliminary report. The interesting thing, and I'm not going to read it, basically what the Sellers and Associates concluded is, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to consolidate, especially these systems. No question about it. And then they talked about the available programs for the loans or for grants. The one thing they mentioned on page 11 of that report was something called the American Rescue Plan. They said, there's some federal legislation about to come down. There may be a source that could really accelerate this consolidation. August 9th, we met again with the mayor pro tempore, Mr. Akers, Sellers and Associates. Again, St. Martinville committed, on board with the consolidation. We disseminated copies of the report, and at this point in time, we had received ARPA funds, the first tranche of the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act, and you will recall that one of the first presentations I made shortly afterwards was to designate the budget portion of that for improvements and consolidation of the water programs. And you agreed with that, and of course, our budget was passed in that regard. And then we started talking about something that I very generally call a water sector program. This was the result of legislation that the state had passed. If you remember, under the American Rescue Plan Act, local governing authorities received money directly from the federal government. But the states also received money, and at this point in time, the use of that money had to be limited to certain things. Broadband, expenses associated with the pandemic. We had expenses, but not anything we could document, and water projects. And water projects and broadband, we didn't even show a nexus with the pandemic. It used the money. So what the state did, though, they had the same rules. What the state was able to do was take their allotment of money and create a water sector program to divvy out to local communities through a competitive grant application. August 17, 2021 is when we had a meeting here. You probably remember, in one of these PowerPoints where we talked about the use of our ARPA money. And then we began to adopt those resolutions approving of the consolidation. November 8th, Waterworks District Number 4 passed a resolution. December 6th, the City Council for the City of St. Martinville passed a resolution, and we adopted an ordinance on December 7th, 2021. This brings us now in 2022, and Sellers and Associates took this study, refined it, and began working on a water sector application, which was completed and submitted to the state for evaluation. And it's a very competitive program. January 13th this year, we received notice that we had received, it was preliminary notice, approval. Our grant application was accepted. And again, a competitive application. In February, I got a formal award letter, and after that, a cooperative endeavor agreement. We received $11 million for the consolidation, which is a substantial amount. That's not all we have to complete this consolidation, because one of the reasons we graded so high is we put up a match of $3 million for our improvements of our system. Did that for several reasons. You approved it, one of which was just in case things don't go well with the consolidation, we still have money to repair our plant. Don't anticipate that, but anyway, we looked at all of that. Now, we're at the point now, we had a new administration, by the way, that took over the city of St. Martinville, and it was kind of new to them, to that new administration, and there was a lot of questions they had. Legitimate concerns, and still some legitimate concerns. We got some, from the parish perspective, legitimate concerns. But all that, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I think we kind of ironed all that out in this room at a meeting where we got the LDH officials on the phone and talked a lot about water sector award and consolidation. But one of the first things we had to look at when we determined how we're going to structure a consolidation. We created a consolidated district, okay? Now, how are we going to really structure it? How's it going to be governed? Who's going to be the employer? How are we going to find employees? How are we going to set the rates? Can it be different rates for different zones? I mean, tons of questions. If we bring on the current employees from the Waterworks District 4, the employees in the city of St. Martinville, and the St. Martin Parish employees in the water department, we mix them together, what water system, what retirement system, what healthcare systems will apply? One component, one part of the consolidation may be classified service, the other may not. So how do you reconcile those? Tons of these type of questions. Of course, that's one we got to go there. But anyway, one of the biggest factors we considered was the 911 customer service in Waterworks District 4. So I think the industrial plant, St. John's, we'll call that 912, Food and Fund 913. City of St. Martinville had a vast number of customers at 2239. According to the report by Sellers and Associates, in any kind of consolidation with the city of St. Martinville, wisdom dictates that the city's water system be the source plant, the primary plant for the consolidated district, with the secondary plant being the industrial park. The reason for that is that the aquifer from which the city of St. Martinville gets its water is cleaner. It takes less chemicals to treat the water so that it would be safe to submit to the consumers. The governance of the affairs of the consolidated district, by law, by statute, has to be through a board of commissioners consisting of 5 persons appointed by the parish council. 3 of the members will be selected from a list of candidates provided by the city of St. Martin. The reason for that is because they have 3 times the customers, so it seems reasonable. All commissioners, however, will serve at the pleasure of the appointing authority. That's St. Martin Parish government, because above all, we're the guys doing the consolidation. Parenthetically, we're doing some other things, but we're kind of putting it together, and the law says in a consolidated water district situation, the parish governing authority is the top dog, so to speak, in the consolidation. You're the ones that appoint those board of commissioners. It's also been decided up to this point that one of our first steps is to appoint an executive director to administer the affairs of the consolidated district. That executive director, I'm going to kind of push this very hard, should have some administrative experience and, more importantly, be a certified operator. And I think even though the board of commissioners hired that executive director, I thought it would be wise that there be a confirmation of that person by the parish council. Kind of what we do with every director, because this is, to me, so important. The board, of course, consolidated board now, would have the authority to enter into contracts to operate the consolidated system. The rates will be determined by the board. The board will have the right to run the system just like Waterworks District's board does, just like Waterworks District 3 and K does, you know, just like the library board. They will run the day-to-day operations through this executive director. And of course, there would be employees that would be hired by the executive director, all working, I submit, under the executive director's supervision, governed by the board, governed by the parish council. You follow how it would work. Current employees, that's one of the biggest questions. So it's right now, we don't know how this is going to play out, but some of the thoughts, and this is where this is a work in progress, some of the thought is that the current employees will become employees of the consolidated district, or if there's an issue with benefits, continue employment with the current employer, say the Waterworks District 4, then enter into a contract with the consolidated district, an employment contract where they would become a board employee relationship. Any future employees, of course, would be employed directly by the district, and the district would be subject to probably, the way it looks now, all of the policies and procedures that govern parish government employees, say retirement system, healthcare provisions. And of course, that's what we want to do. We want to protect the employees, and that's why a great deal of consideration is going to be given to protect healthcare, pension, and accumulated leave rights. The law says, and this is important, that the board that is organized has to have such powers and duties as the parish governing authority would dictate. So again, the general control of the consolidated district, general control is the parish governing authority. Now, under the water sector guidelines, we got to have all these documents to them on August 22nd, 2023. That ain't far off, okay? It's a lot of work needs to be done. We probably won't have everything in place by that date. Maybe several months afterwards. But I've been told that if we get just the general structure, kind of what I've outlined for you, that would be fine. But in the next 60 days, though, I hope to be coming to you with more specifics via an ordinance or resolution. I think that's it, yeah. So anyway, again, this is a work in progress. Some of this may change as we evolve. I'm going to give this very similar presentation at the next city council meeting. I think it's the July 5th, 6th. Oh no, the 3rd, July 3rd.
No, 17th. They're not going to do this.
Then I'll be doing it on the 17th. Thank you, Mr. Call. We'll be doing it on the 17th. Actually, the mayor wanted me to come last night to the city council, but I said, no, I gotta give it to my council before I give it to anyone else. Anyway, I just wanted to go over that history with you. We're still several months, probably maybe over a year and a half from an actual consolidation. So one of the things that we mentioned is the building. The building, who's gonna build, how we're gonna build, that's gotta be worked out. It can be, I'm leaning for the third-party contract with somebody to build. City of St. Martin was set up to do some building, so that might be a possibility, but that's something we're gonna work out as we go. I guess the bottom line is this: we've put in a lot of work to make this consolidation happen. We've got a lot more work to do. Probably won't be completed, so the next parish president is going to have to work on consolidation. We'll have everything in place and ready to up and run. I do have a vision and plan. I believe that the benefits of this consolidation is going to prove it nationwide where there's been consolidation. It's going to start with three components, three players. Waterworks District 4, City of St. Martinville, St. Martin Parish Government. But once people start to see the benefits of consolidation, the benefits of improving rural water systems by consolidation, then it makes sense if you think about it. Once those positive results start to surface, other players are going to come. We won't be calling it consolidation at that point, probably call it mergers. But I think this is a very positive step. It's a step in the future. And it's a step that's been recommended by every regulatory body that deals with water. And the one thing you have to understand, that LDH rules, the USDA rules, the guidelines for preparing and disseminating water is getting more stringent every day. The government's regulating it because water is so important. Finally, rural water is a problem in Louisiana, but not Louisiana alone. Quality rural water is a problem that exists nationwide. Just last summer, if you remember, the city of Jackson, Mississippi shut down. They're bringing water. So it's an issue. Anyway, that's kind of just an overview of where we've been, where we're at, and where we hope to go. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes, I have one question, but I think you just answered part of it at the end. My question was, the consolidated district, besides St. Martinville, what other parts of St. Martin Parish is considered in the consolidated district?
No, just the only three districts that are systems that it's on the table now for consolidation is Waterworks District 4, the industrial water plant, and the city of St. Martin.
But that's it, for now.
Right now, yeah.
And you mentioned at the end that it's possible that they might get the rural area of St. Martinville to merge.
I believe, say again, I believe that once everyone realizes, once the success and advantages of this consolidation becomes evident, that there will be other players, yes. I think it's going to grow. I really do. I can't guarantee that, but I just believe it will. And remember, everybody talks about water. We need water in this area. We need water in that area. I get calls all the time. Here's what you have to understand. If you don't have a well, you don't have a plant, you can't provide the water. That's our biggest problem. You gotta have a plant. You gotta have a source for that water. And there's a lot of areas in this parish that I have looked at and gotten calls about that I want to help from a water perspective, but you gotta have a plant. And not every area is able to have that plant. And I know, Mr. Wall, you're familiar with that, having served on a water board. You understand what I'm talking about? That's the key. And not every area.
And it's not cheap.
Pardon?
You need money.
And you need money, and you need a lot of money, and you need more money. And meters, and building, I mean, it's business, it's tough.
Mr. Tozan?
Yeah, I think Mr. Vincent, I think what he was asking is, Waterworks District 4, what it consists of. It consists of the Catahoula Community Water District, and it consists of the St. John Sugar Mill, and you have the industrial park itself that we're fully funding, and a couple of others. It does, but going back even further, understand when we started talking about this stuff, we did reach out to neighboring communities, and that wasn't the only ones we had initially reached out to. And some of them just weren't interested in doing it at the time. So we have, it was reached out to other communities in the parish.
Oh, yeah, and understand, a lot of people, and I get it, I understand it, okay, I'm not being critical. A lot of communities don't understand consolidation, they think, well, they're just trying to take us over. Look, if somebody came knock on my door, when I first took this job, said, we'll take the water plant from you, I'd give it to them, you know. You look at your budget, look at that industrial water plant budget, and I'll rest my case there. Any other questions? A good question. And I think I know some of the areas you're talking about. Yeah, I can't wait to make something happen.
And we do, I mean, we do have oversight over the board, right?
Yes.
And so they set rates, I mean, I guess they're gonna be required to do financial audits every year. So
Yes.
I mean, all that.
It will be a public entity.
Yeah.
It would be subject to LDH oversight. It would be subject to Louisiana legislative auditors, audits. Yeah, it will be oversight. And you are the governing body, St. Martin Parish. The governing authority of St. Martin Parish, St. Martin Parish Council, is the governing authority. It differs than the normal waterworks districts in that sense. And I will tell you, there's gonna be some rate increases. Mark that one now. Because again, not only do you need a system that can produce potable water, but you've gotta sustain it. This is what happened with rural water. In the late 70s, early 80s, tons of money came down from USDA, and maybe even before that. Good money and good program to improve rural water systems. And that's great. And throughout this nation, this money came down and rural water districts were formed. And when they were formed, they were created, and people that sat on the boards to run them were not water people. They didn't understand the business of water, meaning got increased rates, but they didn't want to increase rates so they could keep their infrastructure improved, because who were the customers? They were, and their friends and families were people in the community. So it was always a reluctance to do what was necessary to run the water business. And I think that was one of the things that led to the deterioration, if you will, of infrastructure. And of course, regulations changed over the course of time. And look, we've got some good water systems in this parish. I just want this consolidated district to have a good water system. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3, discussion of ordinance summary number 14000 an ordinance setting the speed limit to 25 miles per hour on Charles Drive, located in District 2.
This is another one of those housekeeping ordinances for speeding that we did pass and I talked about last couple of months.
Item 4, consider the adoption of an ordinance providing for the lease of 2 case 575N EP 4WD MECH backhoes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, this is just a normal ordinance that you adopt when we're going to purchase or acquire, not purchase, but acquire by lease heavy equipment, here in this case, 2 backhoes. We just need an ordinance under a home rule charter to acquire these 2 pieces of equipment.
Mr. Tolan?
The previous Public Works Director was here 2 years ago. We passed and approved an ordinance to purchase tractors with boom cutters, and those tractors were never purchased. Are we still looking at purchasing those tractors?
I'd have to look at them. I'm not aware that they were not purchased.
Yeah, never.
We'll find out.
Are these replacements or additions? replacement stock for a leak.
We had two that came out of lease last month.
Item 5, completed constituents work order for request forms for May 2023 were emailed to.
Public Works Committee meeting is adjourned.